Hello and welcome, fans of The Mandalorian. We are here with our final first watch of the season. And what a season that has been. We are going to give you our first insights and reactions into Chapter 16, The Rescue, which was great to get at the beginning because then I knew at the end, okay, Grogu's going to be safe, right? Right? He should be safe. So that was reassuring. I cannot even put into words right now. I'm going to try to put into words all the feelings and excitement and emotions and everything that's going to come out as I watch this first take of it. But as always, I'm joined by my bro host Jan Solo. This is Ben Skywalker. I don't even want to try to start. Can you start for us, Jan, and try to put into words and
Sure.
express what you're thinking?
Yeah. Dude, I think you used the right word. It was an emotional episode. The way that it ended, I think, left a lot of us with a lump in our throats. And I think that's totally okay. This was, I think, probably the final episode of the first big story arc of the Mandalorian series, which was, finding Grogu and then finding Grogu's home and finding a new place for him to be. And I think we wrapped that up really nicely with this one. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, maybe we can take it from the top, because I think the opening scene was really cool and really telling in a lot of ways. And as a reminder, the opening scene was with
Well, real quick,
Boba
as
Fett.
a first
Yeah,
reminder, spoilers,
yeah,
spoilers.
loads of them from here on out. So if you haven't watched it yet, you're missing out. Go check it out. But assuming that you have, the first episode or the first scene in this episode is Slave One kind of bearing down on this Imperial shuttle, and we get to see the gang sort of board the shuttle and kidnap Dr. Pershing. And Dr. Pershing, you'll recall, is the guy who is, we now know, officially an Imperial clone engineer. And they end up kidnapping him. But the thing about the scene that really stood out to me was that Cara Dune has an interaction with one of the Imperial officers who is holding a blaster to Dr. Pershing's head. And he's sort of egging her on, talking about the destruction of Alderaan and whatever. And she doesn't try to negotiate. She doesn't try to find a way to kind of get everybody out of that situation alive. She just blasts him in the face. And
Yeah, uh,
and to me, that sort of set a tone. It was like, okay, so it's like this.
yeah,
Okay.
it's gonna be like that. Yeah, you.
Yep.
Well, I just kept wondering, dude, what's your strategy here? Are you trying to
Yeah.
piss her off? Do you want to die, or do you want her to
Right.
shoot and you don't think that she's gonna hit you? I mean, come on, you are literally 2 feet in front of her. It's not
Right.
like it's gonna be hard for her to hit you. So, what is your
Right.
strategy, man? Think about
Yeah.
this.
It was just, to me, that was just sort of foolish on his part, but also like pretty stone cold on Cara Dune's part.
Yes.
Um, so to me, that kind of set the tone of like, look, they're willing to leave a lot of bodies in their wake in order to get back to Grogu. And
Hmm.
there's just something different about it, because when it's just faceless stormtroopers, it's one thing, but when the guy's there face to face with Cara Dune and gets blasted, it's pretty intense. But um, from then on out, they hatched their plan of they're going to steal this shuttle, and then they're going to board the ship, and Boba Fett's going to play the role of, I'm hunting the shuttle and whatever. And from there on out, it feels like it's just wall to wall action pretty much.
Yeah.
Um, but I think I'm probably missing a few things along the way. But to me, this whole episode kind of started with, all right, Mando goes and gets Bo-Katan and company bought in, and then they are off and running, and it's just action, 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 and emotion along the way. But that to me sort of set the tone. And by the way, I'm watching this at like 5:30 in the morning, so
And you sat down for this one?
I was doing some pacing. It's because I was so anxious because look, going into it, it's the finale. There's big expectations. Grogu is still locked up, and you want to see your little bro get out safely. So I was pacing around in my dark living room at like 5:45 this morning, waiting to see what was going to happen. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's fair. I gotta say that scene with Bo-Katan and coming back in, it was not a friendly welcome. Like I expected a little bit more of like a, hey man, it's good to see you again. Like, what do you need help with this time? But no, she doesn't want to help. It's that fight between the one Mandalorian, I forget her name, and Boba, like going at it, like there are no friends in this little cantina wherever they are. And it was funny how the whole place just cleared out. And I was making the comment like, where was the other Mandalorian of their clan? Like I didn't see him. I wonder where he is. Like why doesn't he come along for the ride? Like maybe he's taking care of some business elsewhere. But
Yeah.
it wasn't a very friendly confrontation, and you never really felt like Bo-Katan was really just there to get the Darksaber back. That was it.
Oh yeah.
And you know, the scene with the four, you know, the female characters going through and just tearing apart this ship was just great to see. Like
Mm-hmm.
a lot of fun, a lot of you know, twists and turns along the way. Even when Cara Dune's rifle gets jammed, and then she's got to unjam it, and then she
Yep.
just immediately starts firing it. Like there were just some great moments in all that action, watching them
Totally.
tear through the stormtroopers. So I really enjoyed all that, but I just feel like the coldness of Bo-Katan in this episode was so palpable, like very well acted for sure.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I didn't feel like the same feelings I had when I saw her the first time, which was she's so cool, she's a great person. I felt more like, is she gonna be the enemy now, or
Yeah.
what's
Potentially.
gonna happen here? Because she doesn't feel like on a good side right now, like one that I feel connected to in a good way.
Yeah, I think this episode really spotlighted that she has a mission. She has a vision of her future in mind, and that includes her with her hands on the dark saber and leading the Mandalorians and getting back to all that. And other stuff that is going on that's really important to other people is just a distraction. And her incentives have to really be aligned with somebody else's in order for her to jump in and help out. So I
Yeah,
felt like she was like a little bit of a mercenary in this case, where she was like, look, I can get my hands on the dark saber, okay, I'm in. But you know, she doesn't really care about Grogu. She doesn't really care about Din's relationship with Grogu or any of that stuff. And that really kind of came to a head when later on, you know, jumping around a little bit with Bo-Katan's story, when Din returns back to the bridge of the ship after having defeated Moff Gideon, carrying both Grogu and the dark saber. You can just see sort of like you can just see the way that it hits her. And Katie Sackhoff, I think, plays it perfectly. Of, oh, this is an unexpected complication. I didn't defeat Moff Gideon, so therefore I can't just take the dark saber. You can see this. There is a little bit of conflict there, thankfully. Like she doesn't immediately reach for a blaster and just start shooting Din, but then again, at the same time, she knows that he's wearing all that Beskar. So I don't know.
it
Um,
here's the ironic thing for me that I just came to the realization of, which is in the first time she meets Din, they go through this whole heist. She's called him out for being a member of the Watch, and how they're too rigid, and that they're a bunch of zealots, or what is the word she used,
mhm,
like a cult,
mhm.
basically. And here she is now conforming to a rule that is so important to her. It's just almost as important as the rule that Din has to not remove his helmet. But
True. That's a great point.
her rule that she's anchored to and she will not let go of is, I have to earn this in a battle and win it for the to be able to reclaim Mandalore. And you're sitting here like, hey, Bo, you know that medicine that you gave Din and the realization that you helped him come to, it's time to do that for yourself now.
Hmm.
And so hopefully her journey gets her there. But because if not, she's gonna throw down with Din.
Right.
Like, what's gonna be the next outcome of that? Which, by the way, they don't resolve. So that's a huge question going into season 3. Of okay, what is this relationship with Din? Where do we pick up from here? Do we pick
Yeah.
up right on the what is it called? It's not really a Star Destroyer. It's something else.
Yeah.
Do
Whatever that vessel is. But yeah, it wouldn't be wrong. I mean, it wouldn't be inappropriate for them to pick up the beginning of season 3 right there on the bridge as the elevator has gone away, and um, the rest of the cast is just left there with the Mandalorians and Cara Dune and Moff Gideon's on the ground. He's just gotten pistol whipped, and um, there's the dark saber, and somebody's going to leave the bridge of the ship with it, and Din couldn't care less. He's happy to hand it over, but apparently that's not the way that works in her mind. So,
And I've still come to terms with how I feel about all that too, but I'm almost left wondering, do I want Bo-Katan having the dark saber? I don't even know anymore. Maybe.
right? No, I
I
agree.
maybe I'm fine with it if so, but it's got to be someone of good character, and that's Din.
Right?
He has proven time and time again that he's got a good character about him, that he is a good person, and
Yeah.
that's the type of person you want leading Mandalore. We haven't seen that from Bo-Katan, at least in the Mandalorian, I should say. So a
Right.
lot of questions that remain, I think, of her character and kind of where her loyalty lies. There was no loyalty in this whole entire heist,
Mm-hmm.
right? Everyone's kind of got their own reason for being there. The only real loyalty is between Din and the child and Kara.
I was going to say, Cara Dune definitely displays loyalty. She didn't have to be there. She didn't have to get
No,
wrapped up in all that. She's got her
no,
new job, and she's a marshal of the New Republic, and she doesn't have to be risking her life on uh, that boarding that vessel, and they know that there's dark troopers on there and all that stuff, but she
right.
did. So I think her character had a pretty honorable story arc here. Um, but hey, let me ask a couple of questions if
Go
that's
for it.
okay. So what were some of your favorite action sequences? Because I think that there was a bunch here that were just terrific.
Um, yeah, it's so hard to choose. I mean, the fight between Din and Moff Gideon was so well set up, like with him almost kind of letting him take the child and becoming a little bit more like this is not very characteristic of him, but maybe let's see what happens. You turned your back, oh you're dead, but oh you've got Beskar, good. Like it was just kind of like this a very emotional few seconds for me. But then that whole fight scene was so well choreographed, so well done, and I loved the detail of the Beskar against the dark saber and watching the Beskar heat up.
Yeah, watching it glow red hot. Oh, I thought that was so cool.
Yeah, I almost worried that it was gonna cut the spear in half or something.
Yeah, yeah, and I guess maybe it would have eventually, but gosh,
Yeah,
Beskar holds up pretty well to it. But yeah, I love that scene too. That's probably my number one or close to it, or definitely competing for it. There's all these cool little moments in that where at one point Moff Gideon is kind of thrown into the wall with Din, and the dark saber is pushed into the wall, and it's just sort of slicing through it like it's hot butter. Like,
yeah,
and the wall is catching fire where the dark saber is sort of dragging along. Like it was really well done. It was visually very cool. So
agreed.
totally agree on that one. Um, Another one of my favorites was not to jump ahead here, but when Luke Skywalker boards the ship and just slices through the dark troopers like they're nothing.
Yeah, I
Um,
would say we'll get to that specifically
yep.
in more detail, but I agree with you on that. And I really like the way that it was almost like you were watching it from a distance. They were watching it from the monitors, right? And you
Yep.
would get little glimpses and pieces of it, and then it would slowly start to zoom in a little bit more. And then you see, I had flashbacks to Darth Vader in Rogue One and that
Oh
scene,
yeah.
just
Oh
with a
yeah.
green lightsaber now, and on the good side, like it was great.
Hmm. Yeah. Very good call. That's such a good parallel. But yeah, that was exciting stuff.
One more to
Um,
answer your question.
sure.
When Din was facing off with the Dark Trooper, it
That was another one of mine. Yeah.
it was again very well done, and the detail that I really liked of it was when the Dark Trooper was just hammering him in the face,
Hmm.
and you're just sitting
And
here going, "Oh my gosh, how does he get out of this?"
yep, and his helmet is literally being pressed into the structure of the wall, just being
Yeah,
mashed into the wall.
I'd have such a
Um,
migraine after that. Jeez.
but yeah, I loved how they handled that, where Din was able to get the door shut, just in time, and only one of them slipped through, and then he opened the airlock, and I was like, okay, all right, well, they're not going to be a problem anymore. Obviously, not thinking that they can survive in the vacuum of space.
Right.
Um, but yeah, that was. that was a really good fight scene. And then once I realized, oh gosh, yes, they can survive the vacuum of space, that was, a really good cliffhanger where, you're delaying the dark troopers. You're not getting rid of them
Yeah,
completely.
which
Um,
I appreciated. Like if you would have just
mhm.
sent them off in the vacuum of space and they're gone, then it's like,
It would have
oh,
been a little too easy.
that was easy. I mean,
Right.
you made it look not too easy with one, but you made them appear very menacing when it is just one. So I can't
Yep.
imagine a whole fleet. Uh,
Yep.
which I'm glad with. Like they showed that it is very difficult to take them out. The only thing that is capable of taking them out is a Jedi.
Yep. Thank goodness one showed up. Maybe we can talk about that next. So who did you think it was going to be?
I listen. I don't want to say I told you so because I didn't technically, but in my mind, as everyone was going through, well, who could it be? And I thought going into this, like, don't forget the whole purpose of this season was to take him back to a Jedi, and the only Jedi that makes sense to bring back is Luke.
Mm-hmm.
I know we talked about Ahsoka, and I know that that made sense, and it felt like it was right. It felt the direction it was going until she said no. But there were so many other people that were like Ezra came up and like, yeah, that would be cool and fine, but why not Luke? Luke
Yeah.
would be the best choice. And so
Yeah.
the fact that they pulled that off was so satisfying to me.
Oh, totally.
I was
But you know
grinning
what?
ear to ear.
I was too, but I have to admit that I assumed that it was going to be a new character, a new Jedi who's going to be important in the next story arc of The Mandalorian, somebody who'd be introduced to us for the first time. Um, I didn't think we'd be so lucky as to get Luke. So I guess I just kind of talked myself out of it. I thought they did a great job with the CGI of making that young Mark Hamill walk in, but um, even before that, like you were saying, his entrance was amazing, where you get to see the X-wing coming in, that lone X-wing, good old Red 5 coming in,
Yeah.
and then him just hacking his way easily through all of the dark troopers and any other trouble he encounters. Um, that I think there's people all over the world today who, when they saw that green saber come out, just freaked out.
Yeah.
And then when you see his one gloved hand,
Yeah.
that was that. I didn't believe it until I saw the gloved hand. Like anybody could have a
Oh,
green
really?
saber, I guess. Yeah. So because I kept talking myself out of it for some reason. I was like, "There's no way this is Luke Skywalker." But then again, remember, dude, this is me at like 5:45 in the morning. I don't know what's going on. I'm still waking up.
I,
I'm waking up in a panic because I'm so excited about the episode. Um, but yeah, then when he walks in the room and then they have that whole, really emotional exchange of Grogu basically making his decision, by the way,
mm-hmm.
and deciding to go with Luke. And what did you think of that scene, of that moment? That was pretty. That was, when people talk about this episode being emotional, that I think that's the part that hit me the hardest.
Well, and before I get to that, and I will very, very quickly, uh, I will say I had a strong feeling once the X-wing came in that that was Luke, because there's
Mm,
only one X-wing that flies by itself throughout the galaxy that's confident enough to do that, and that's Luke.
mm,
Uh,
mm-hmm.
and so every other piece of it after that was just further confirmation, um,
Yep.
which I just absolutely loved. It was like slowly unveiling him. Um,
Yeah.
answering your question, I had a lump in my throat, man, and I
Yeah.
thought about it in this way: like this is a child that
Mm-hmm.
was essentially an orphan,
Yeah.
and this is the first person in a long time that has come to the aid of this orphan for
Mm-hmm.
non-selfish reasons and given him a chance again.
Yeah. Made sacrifices for him.
Made sacrifices for him. I mean, his ship was blown up. Like, think of all the things that the Mandalorian has endured the last 2 seasons.
Yeah.
So much just for the sake of this child.
Yep.
And to see them kind of look at each other and realize that the most important thing to the child in this moment that would give him confidence in letting go is to show his face. Like that
Yep.
to me was, it was special. So
Yeah.
look at this as a sci-fi if you want, and be like, all right, why is everyone doing this to a sci-fi? It's more than that. Like think about the situation that all these people are in, and if it was just the same story told in our universe, it's touching. And
Yeah.
and I think for that reason I felt very sad to see the child go with Luke, but very happy at the same. Like and then when R2 rolls in, just like, all right,
Yes.
go child, that's where you belong. that
Yep.
that made it all
Yep.
better.
Yeah. I always think back to what George Lucas said about Star Wars, which is that it's just a story about a family,
Mhm.
and all the stuff going on in and around this family, and the stuff that really translates very easily, that makes it so popular all over the world with the young people, old people, and people who don't typically like sci-fi, but they like Star Wars. And the thing is that the core relationship stuff of people who care about one another and want to help each other, um, uh, up against impossible odds of bad things happening. I mean, that's just really relatable for everybody. And I agree. This was a really simple kind of moment between um, somebody who uh, was on a path where they were just sort of plugging along in life and had an opportunity to make a difference in an almost helpless little dude's life, and did that, and then did the selfless thing, and handed him over to somebody who knew how to help him cultivate whatever powers he has and whatever potential he has. And it was just a really sweet thing. And yeah, taking off the helmet was a big moment where I think a lot of people all over the country. I saw Kevin Smith posted something, the film director, where he just took a selfie of him just crying in his house, and just being cool, and owning the fact that he was that emotionally moved by the episode. And by no means is he alone, because that was just a really genuine moment. I
Yeah,
bet there were people on the set getting choked up that day. I wouldn't be surprised. But
probably.
I mean, look, he's in really good hands now. I don't know how much we'll see of him in future, in like the next season or future episodes. I hope that we get some updates about how great he's doing. I hope he writes. I hope he calls. But I don't know if we'll see him episode to episode, going into season 3. I think it'll go back to more grown up problems, like how does Bo-Katan get the dark saber in a way that doesn't involve conflict with Din, and so on. But hey, I know that we've covered a lot. Should we talk about what happened after the credits?
Yes. Oh gosh, I forgot about that. I
And
mean,
which
not
which
really.
by the way, I almost missed. Like,
You
the
did.
episode, it was so intense. The end was so emotional. I kind of sat back and listened to the score at the end, because I think they did a nice, like, classical arrangement of the Mandalorian theme.
Mhm.
And then I walked away, and uh, our bros at Baraxium had a group chat going, and somebody said something about, did you watch everything? Did you watch after the credits? And then I went on Twitter safely, because I had watched the episode, and I saw that Hal Hickel at Lucasfilm had posted something like, "You guys watched after the credits, right?" And then just picture me running back into the living room and turning the TV back on to figure out what I missed. But yeah, that was intense. What do you think of that?
I mean, I had some good laughs at first because I was like, "Ha, fat Bib!" Like it was just so good to see Bib Fortuna back and sitting in the chair. Like that makes sense. Okay, your second in command would then become the first in command. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
but it just seems such a far stretched thing. He said McClunky. Like that's just hilarious to me. Like this is now a word that we just use and throw in everywhere that we can, as well as what's the other one that Kara said this time around? Dank Ferric. It's just like, all
Yep.
right, let's just add these crazy words here, and
Yep.
got a good laugh out of that. But but yeah, when Fennec Shan came in, I was like, okay, there's there's the character that we remember. Like, oh, you're all
Mm-hmm.
good now. I I don't know about that. And same with Boba. Like you're just good all of a sudden. I don't know about that.
Yep.
Like it kind of, you were very accepting of it in the moment, but it's like, okay, this is what I thought was going to happen, was you would show your true colors at some point, right? And they did, right? They're like,
Mm-hmm.
we're after something bigger than this. We're going to pay off our debt and we're going to go be crime lords.
Yep. Yep.
Like, wow,
which
that's
which is one
shocking.
one path to take, I guess. But you know what kind of bookended this episode for me was, just how stone cold Boba Fett was with Bib, because and I'm assuming it's Bib Fortuna. I don't know. I think it is.
Has to
Um,
be.
has to be. But he was trying to kind of smooth talk Boba Fett a little bit. hey, long time, yeah, it's good to see you, whatever. And then Boba Fett just blasts him. Doesn't want to have a conversation, just wants that throne, just wants the important seat.
Mm-hmm.
And then Fennec Shan runs and gets a nice picture of Spotchka, and
Yeah.
they sort of sit there and survey their empire. They're going to build their new little kingdom for themselves, I guess. Which, you know, I still don't know what it is. So it said something like the book of Boba Fett coming December 2021. What is
Yep.
that? Is that chapter 17?
I
The
don't
first
know.
episode or is that its own show?
So
Is
there's
they're
been
not they
speculation.
haven't said at this point.
No, there's been some speculation as to what they mean, and I bet if anything, we're not going to hear it until Monday once everyone's had the chance to see the episode. Then the official announcement will come out. But
Yeah.
the book, is it just a book that's coming out to detail these things? Could be interesting. I think you could put that in a medium that would be more, uh, consumed by a lot more audiences, though. So don't do a book, do a series.
Mm-hmm.
Or there's been the speculation of, is this now the Mandalorian that we're following, and that's what the Mandalorian eventually turns into, and Din's story is closed. I hope it's not that, because I want
Mm-hmm.
more Din. I feel like
Same.
there's more to
Same
his
here.
story. Uh, I just wonder, and then option three, is he the new big bad of the series?
Could be. It's hard to imagine after the turn that he's had, but he definitely has the versatility for it, and I guess they have the appetite for power. I guess that they want to, after all he's been through over the course of the years, it seems like he's gotten his confidence back with that armor, and it seems like he is ready to sort of live a different kind of lifestyle. I guess no more going out and hunting his own bounties, no more
Mhm.
kind of scraping by and surviving. He wants to sit up on the pedestal and the throne and be, I guess, Tatooine's biggest crime boss. I don't know. It's wild to think.
It is, and you just wonder, all right, where is this going? So I guess that's the big question for season three. Where is all this
Yeah.
going? And we mentioned all the outstanding questions we have. Are we done seeing Grogu? Are we done seeing the child? Uh,
Yep.
are are we getting a new big bad? Is it going to be uh, Moff Gideon still, or is it going to be someone else? Um, is the story going to be centered around Din? Where is Bo-Katan in all this? Does she eventually get the dark saber? Like, the list is endless,
Mm-hmm.
which is great because that means we'll have a lot more Mandalorian to consume over the next year or two.
Yep. Agreed. But yeah, kudos to the whole team who put this together. There weren't many predictable moments in this season. I felt like I was constantly surprised and blown away, and this was just one more of those where I did not expect this ending to the credits. So,
Same.
gosh, what a ride it's been. It's been a ton of fun being able to dig into it with you guys every week and reflect on it. The questions will probably continue to occur to us, and we're going to be talking a ton more about the Mandalorian season 2 on our podcast, probably starting maybe in January. We'll see. But it's been so much fun, and I think I probably just have to go rewatch this episode a couple times more this weekend.
I've got to rewatch the whole season because life was just so busy throughout it all that I watched each episode a couple of times and then moved on to the next one, watched that a couple of times, and then it was like I kept constantly going through it. We started all this off with the death of a crate dragon. I gotta go watch that again.
That's
So
right. Gosh, that seems like so long ago.
it does, but there's so much more to be excited about and to anticipate. And like you said, we are going to dissect this whole season a little bit at a time in how do you want to say, uh, bite-sized chunks. No, we're gonna chew off as much as we can chew, but you can't
They're
chew
going to
off
be
eight
more like chunky sized bites.
chunky. There we go. I appreciate that. Uh, but yeah, we're probably gonna have to do this over 3 meals, I feel. But make sure you stay tuned for that. Tune into our regular podcast wherever you listen, on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, wherever we should be there. Thank you for tuning in and listening to us react to The Rescue today, chapter 16, and to cap off what has been a great season so far and hopefully a few more great seasons to come. Just remember that always this is the way.
This is the way.